Have you ever thought about where your food really comes from? Have you ever been brought into the story of how a farm right here in the UK? Well, today we'll do just that. Today I'm joined by fourth generation organic farmer Oliver Surman of Pegoty Hedge. Pegoty Hedge is a mixed organic farm, and since 2008, Pegoty Hedge started producing small batch organic prepared meals packaged in recycled and recyclable packaging. As farmers, they understand how important the land is to their livelihood and the local population. So they have made sure their practices tread lightly on the planet. They have large areas of the farm set aside for species-rich planting, specifically to encourage and protect wild birds, bees, insects, and butterflies. Their hot water and their heating is provided by their on-site biomass boiler, and when the sun is shining, they produce more than enough solar energy to power the farm and kitchen. And without further ado, here's Oliver. Hi, Oliver. Thanks for coming. Thank you again for your time and joining us today. Can you tell us a bit more about the heritage of the farm and how it's been passed from generation to generation as an organic farm?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, first off, good afternoon, and great to join you. Yes, I mean, I'm extremely fortunate. As you said, I'm the fourth generation family farm. Beautiful part of the country, Worcestershire. I can see the Malvern Hills through the window just in front of me here. Sun is shining, grass is growing. It's absolutely idyllic today. And I'm, as I say, extremely fortunate to have the opportunity to live this lifestyle and to be a farmer, because there are many people who would give their eye teeth to farm. Access to land and access to farms is very, very difficult. So I'm very, very privileged. But it's, as I say, it's a fourth generation farm. We're a mixed farm. We're organic from hedge to hedge. We have livestock, so we have beef cattle, we have Christmas turkeys, we grow potatoes, we grow oats, we grow barley, we grow wheat, we grow grass. We do all sorts of things on the farming side. The farm is focused on leisure as well. So we're very fortunate. We're next to a little tourist town. So we have I organise a triathlon every year with my sister. So we have hundreds of people onto the farm, and they run around the farm and swim down the river, and then they have a big old party in the evening. And we have many sort of music festivals and other events on the farm. So it's a truly mixed farm in every sense, both from an agricultural point of view and from how other people have access onto the farm and utilise the farm.
Wow, thank you. So this question came in earlier from one of our community members, and she asked, was this your passion, or did you rather feel it was a responsibility to take it over?
That is a very, very good question. And I know you're not meant to say questions are good, because all questions are good. When I was growing up, living on a farm in the middle of the countryside was great. It had its attractions, but it wasn't the big, bright lights, big city. It had its limitations, let's put it that way. But it was always in my mind, and I really enjoyed farming. I really enjoyed agriculture. I really enjoyed the lifestyle. I really enjoyed looking after the land, looking after the animals, and all that sort of thing. But I knew that I didn't want to leave school at 18, come straight home to the family farm, and be there forever. Because I'm a strong believer that you need to experience lots of things. You need to experience life. You need to experience other environments to be able to bring ideas and concepts back home. So I was, again, fortunate enough to go off to university. So I spent 3 years up in Newcastle, and then having finished university, moved down to London. Spent 3 years in London, or three or 4 years in London or so. As much not working to live, not living to work, but working to live. So just so I could experience things, just the life skills, like navigating around London, like sitting in front of a computer, like just interacting in meetings, all that sort of thing, which you don't get on a farm. So to answer the question, was it a lifelong passion? I guess ultimately it was, because I ultimately have ended up back doing what I want to be doing. But it was very much with my eyes wide open, and knowing that it's a big world and there are other things to see, and you've got to try and have broad experiences, but still with the ability to come back home and farm, if that makes any sense.
It does. And I mean, talk us through your sustainable journey across your operations, a bit more about the farm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, referring back to the fourth generation, my great grandfather kept diaries. So we've got upstairs in the house here, we've got diaries dating back to sort of 1897 through to sort of 1920, 1930 or so. And every now and again, I just flick through those diaries. And what we're doing now isn't massively different to what they were doing then. You know, they are still introducing fertility into the land through clover, and they're still doing crop rotations. You know, it may have taken them a bit longer to do the jobs because they didn't have tractors and they didn't have the mechanization. So it might have taken them 6 weeks to make hay in the field that we would now make hay in sort of 3 days or something. But the fundamental principles are the same. So I think in terms of my view of sustainability and my view of sort of how I fit in the jigsaw, it's not a revolution, it's an evolution, I think. And you could argue between 1900 and where we are today, the pendulum has swung sometimes too far the one way. We have concentrated too far on output, and have we concentrated enough on sort of looking after the farm? And there are very good reasons for that, and at the time they were very valid reasons. But if now we're doing the same practices just in different ways, and we're using the same principles. So I think it's and sustainability, I guess, means different things to different people. But to me, it's it's as much maintaining as much as sustaining. You've got to be maintaining and going forwards. And going forwards may mean change, and change isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you've got to be able to maintain and sustain.
And in 2008, you started producing small batch organic prepared meals using this family recipes. Can you tell us what went into that decision? As you don't see many farms with retail products, are they usually just suppliers to other larger brands?
Absolutely. I think I've probably spent the last 14 or 15 years demonstrating why you don't see many farmers doing it. No. The reason was I came home to explain, sort of went away to London, university, what have you. So I came home to the family farm, and again, it's going back to the words. How was the farm going to be sustainable? Because my parents hadn't retired at that point. They were the farmers. They were in the farmhouse and what have you. So we looked at the business. Thought, how can this business sustain an extra income? Because I'm coming home. I want to earn a living. So we looked at the farm. Can we do more agriculture, or can we do something in addition to? Can we add value to the product and the produce that we already have? And I'm sure I heard Marguerite talk about this the other day when he was on your podcast. It was very much at the time of chefs and cooking, and provenance of food was very much coming to the fore. So television chefs were saying, go and source your Aberdeen Angus steak or whatever it might be. Farmers markets were very much in their sort of peak, and so people were very much connecting with food. And so we thought, we've got a story here. We've got high welfare, organic Aberdeen Angus produce. We've got a bit of a story. We've got the Malvern Hills. We've got the River Severn. Is there something we can do to add value to our produce, to deliver it to the consumers in a different way, and at the same time make the business more sustainable and diversified away from the vagaries of direct? So that's sort of a bit of a businessy answer, but also on the flip side, it's an incredibly enjoyable journey as well, and it's a passion that I've got in food also. So it was luckily it was a nice marriage of the two, but the two went in tandem.
So what has been, or perhaps still are, some of the biggest challenges when faced ensuring organic and sustainable practices are an integral part of your business decisions?
Crikey. What are the biggest challenges? this won't sound right. It won't sound good, but it's ultimately price. In this country, we have a cheap food policy and cheap food mentality. And you can argue it, and it is an argument that can be had, but food is essentially too cheap. But on organic, we have to achieve a premium because there are things we have to do in both the production of organic food and in processing organic food, which means it's inherently more expensive. And so I guess, and this is at quite a high level, that the constant challenge is making sure that we can achieve the premium for the value that we're putting into the product. Because again, coming back to the sustainability word, if you can't achieve the premium relative to the effort you're having to put in to instill those values in the product, ultimately the job isn't sustainable. And that sounds that's quite a stark answer in quite black and white, but ultimately that is what it comes down to. And then sort of some of the other things, some of the more day-to-day things is available. Certainly in the current climate, the literal availability of organic produce. Got European. Our tomato is going to be organic tomato is going to be freely available from Italy this harvest. Probably will be, but it's a bit of a question mark. So there are some sort of literal points that we sort of stumble with on a day-to-day basis as well.
How has COVID-19 UK lockdown shaped your business?
I will be absolutely honest, and from a business point of view, we've had a good year because of the space we're in, and I absolutely acknowledge, and I've got very good friends. One good friend of mine runs a hotel as a hotel manager, and the rug has just been pulled out from underneath their feet. Absolutely no fault of his own. He's an absolute fantastic guy, brilliant at his job, but the rug has been pulled out. Now we're fortunate, and have we made our own luck? Are we lucky? Right place, right time, whatever. Our products, because they are suitable, our key markets would be sort of home delivery type organisations. So in the time of lockdown and period of lockdown where people haven't been able to go out, people still need to eat, people still need to source food. Our products have just fitted really well in that niche. So we've been lucky. But you've got to be in the right place at the right time, and you've still got to deliver. And it's been blood, sweat, and tears. The guys here, working back at base. It's been blood, sweat, and tears because we have been busy, and they haven't been able to do what they want to do. They haven't been able to have their holidays. They haven't been able to do this, that, and the other. So it's been a positive, but I acknowledge that we are lucky, and I acknowledge that lots of guys in our team have sort of made sacrifices to enable us to get to where we are.
Thanks for sharing that. And do you think COVID-19 has reshaped the food system as we know it here in the UK?
I think it has probably accelerated movements which we would have seen anyway. So I think the high street was dying, and I think that will only have been accelerated, but purely from the fact people haven't been able to go to the high street. I think the way people shop for food has changed, and was changing rather, in terms of online and home delivery, and I think that has accelerated through lockdown. And you've only got to look at people like people like Ocado, and you've got to look at people like Mindful Chef and like that who've done phenomenally well on home delivery sort of execution. So I think it has accelerated where we would have got to anyway. And there are pros and cons in those approaches. Death of the high street is not a good thing. It is everybody driving to a supermarket, filling their car up with things they don't want, a good thing? I don't know.
What lessons do you think you've learned from the last few months during COVID, and how will that shape your thinking moving forward?
I think it's being resilient, and I think it's understanding that there are some things that are under your control, and some things that absolutely aren't under your control. And COVID is a classic example. It isn't under our control. And I could go out tomorrow or Monday morning and like we're a small team, 10 guys on site, and they can ring up and say, I'm not well, and we could be closed for 10 days. So it's understanding and learning what you can affect and what you can impact. And then things that you can't impact, you've got to know about them. You've got to have a mind to them, and you've got to sort of try and mitigate them. But if you can't literally impact them, then don't spend too much time worrying about it, but try and impact the things that you can impact.
And what would you say to the listeners that are about to, during their weekly shops, the next time they go to buy food, perhaps their considerations between shopping organic and not shopping organic?
That is a very good point. I would start from the basis. In the UK, British agriculture, because I'm a farmer as well as a food manufacturer. British agriculture, if you're setting the bar, benchmark normal conventional agriculture is very, very high. So your base mark is high. So do not have any qualms or concerns that your food quality or standards of either taste or production are in any way compromised by buying conventional UK produce. If you want to buy organic produce, I am an organic farmer and I offer you that choice and say, you can come to me and say, Oliver, I really want to buy that organic cottage pie, whatever it is. Your own personal reasoning may be because you think it tastes better. It may be because your sort of lifestyle choices that you particularly strongly advocate and agree with the organic ideals, or it might just be because that's what you want to buy. So I think it's very dangerous to preach to people. I think it's important to give people choices, and if they want to, they can. But I think it's very difficult to say ours is brilliant, everybody else's is terrible, because that just isn't true. Ours is slightly different. If you want it, here it is. If you don't want it, everything else is still fantastic. So don't worry.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I wasn't sure how you were going to answer that one, but because I guess the listeners here, the viewers are sustainability focused individuals that want to live more sustainably, and the word organic does get thrown around quite a bit. So could you perhaps, possibly as simply as you can, give some insights into the impacts on an environmental level of organic and non-organic?
So
and
organic farming,
I appreciate that changes crop to crop, location to location. Just focus on
that's a big question. I'll try and sort of answer it succinctly. Organic farming is basically a set of sort of guidelines, a set of principles, and it ranges. So if you're a livestock farmer, there are enhanced sort of welfare measures that you have to take. If you're a crop farmer, there are products that you can't, pesticides, spray, the obvious things that you can't use. Fertilizer, inorganic fertilizers you can't use. So those are the sort of the well-known sort of things that people will hang their hat on. But then there's also sort of a philosophy behind it as well. So the sustainability, so the building of, because you can't artificially introduce fertility into the land, you've got to manage your land in the long term, because you've got to continuously be building. So you can't take too much out in year one, because you've still got 50 years down the line to farm. So your stocking densities will be lower. So you're not you're not putting so much pressure on the farm, or your crop spacings might be wider, so that you're able to hoe weeds sort of mechanically rather than chemically. So it's a different mindset, and it takes a while to get your head around it. And again, going back to what I was talking just before, there are things you can impact and things you can't impact. If I have conventional farming friends coming onto the farm, they would tear their hair out, because they might look at my crops and look at my fields and think, crikey, you've got docks here, there, and everywhere. Or look at my wheat crop and say, crikey, you've got weeds everywhere. But organically, that's something that is part of the package. You can't worry about that. You can impact them and you can manage them, but that comes with the package. That comes in the round. So it's a psychology. it's a set of rules or a set of regulations from a practical point of view, but it's also a sort of a psychology, it's also an approach as well. So it's sort of twofold.
What lessons do you hope other business leaders can learn from you and Pegoty Hedge?
I think getting stuck in, you'll never achieve anything, or you'll never know the answer to anything unless you try. You know, we aren't the finished product. You know, there are many things that we've done right, and there are many things we've done wrong. But what we are is we're honest. We've got integrity. We've got values. We've got what we think is a good product. And we're open. We're responsible in terms of the environment. We're responsible in terms of food production. So I think that sort of the messages I would give people who are sort of from the outside looking in is A, have a go, but B, just do it with integrity and do it with honesty, because you'll get found out. If you're trying to pull a fast one, somebody will find out, and then it's a slippery slope from there.
And if I can continue on that, I think a lesson can be learned on long-term thinking rather than short-term gains.
Definitely, yes, and that is in building relationships as well as I guess you were sort of potentially referring to sort of the farming side of it, but it's also business relationships, and that I'm much more interested in having a dialogue with somebody than having a sales pitch to them, because if you have a dialogue, you get to understand what they want, and you get to explain what you can offer, and hopefully through that dialogue, you can join the dots and ultimately do some business. But if you're constantly on transmit and you're never on receive, you don't understand what the market wants, or you don't understand what your consumers want. So it's definitely a two-way street from that point of view.
What companies or organizations have you taken inspiration from, and what leaders do you most admire?
Correct. That really is a difficult one, because I was thinking about that. There aren't any. There isn't a blue chip company on my office wall which I look up to every morning and sort of bow down to and pray. I've got lots of friends. I've got a very good friend who's an engineer, and he's been phenomenally successful in his world, and it has been him. He has driven it. It has been he's lived and breathed it. It's been absolutely his lifeblood and his heart and soul. So I greatly admire his drive, and he's made huge sacrifices to get to where he is. Then I've got other friends who have had wonderful ideas, and they have worked amazingly diligently and sort of hard to sort of fulfill those ideas and those dreams. So I'm not going to put sort of a name, but it's people I know, it's people I admire on a day-to-day basis who are on a similar journey to us, small businesses, and they, rather than standing on the sideline saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be good?" they've actually said, "I'm going to," and they've got in and done it.
Amazing, taking action,
taking action. Yeah.
Oliver, what's next for Pegoty Hedge? What are you most worried about, and what are you most hopeful for?
Well, I think again, it's probably reflecting back on the sort of answer I gave a little bit earlier. And again, it's not a very sexy answer, but it's about prices, and it's making sure that it's making sure that we are sustainable, making sure that what we offer is in line with what the consumers A, want, and B, value, and C, can afford. Because going back to this whole sustainability piece and one interpretation of sustainability, if we're in a market with a product which has no plate, people either don't want it or can't afford it, it's not going to last for long. So that's a constant, and that we're not at the doomsday scenario in that. In terms of threats and opportunities, I think COVID is both a threat and an opportunity. I've explained just now that we had seen new markets open up for us, or existing markets strengthen. So I would like to think that we can carry on sort of working with those guys, again through building relationships. But I think you have to have an eye that it is, albeit hopefully only for the next few months, a serious issue that we need to mitigate as much as we can in our working environment. Otherwise, we are a grain of sand on a beach in terms of global economics in our business. There are many things that I'm sure I haven't even heard of, which will impact our business over the next 12 months, either positively or negatively. So we just sort of try and understand and comprehend the things we have control over.
Mm-hmm. So Oliver, we're now at the quick fire round stage. We've got the final three. What's the best business book you've read?
Well, it's not a book. I am a member of a discussion group, a group of 15 or 16 farmers. We're all on WhatsApp. We meet up 2 or 3 times a year, and it's specifically related to business. So somebody will wake up one morning and say, I've got a question about something, and they'll ping it on the group, and then everybody will interact. So it's a community of like-minded fellow. Some are farmers, some are food producers, some are in other areas. So it's that network I would reference rather than a specific book.
Wonderful. It's very similar to what we do here at Kind Community. We have this discussion page where we all chip in and try and help each other certain questions. So that's good.
Pretty much you find everybody will know the answer. If they don't know it, they'll know where to look for it.
That's it. Number 2, what's your favorite sustainable hack?
Again, thinking laterally, I think, because it's very easy. Knowing where you want to get to, there are many ways to get there. You can probably buy a solution off the shelf, and you will get that solution, and it will come with a cost, probably a cost attached, and it will get you there. But part of the joy and part of the fun of being an entrepreneur is thinking laterally, thinking, well, I want to get to here, but is there another way of getting there? Can I do it in a way that either future-proofs me if I want to do something else, or in a way that recycles or repurposes something that I've already got, or in a way that is more sustainable or more efficient than an off-the-shelf or off-the-peg solution. So I think lateral thinking would be my answer to that one.
Finally, what would be one bit of advice you would give your 20-year-old self?
I think it's something I've said before. Just get stuck in, because you don't. If you're not in the game, you'll never. You've got to be in it to. I was going to say in it to win it, but it's not about winning in it. It's about experiencing. It's we where I am today isn't the finished article. Where I was 20 years ago, there's a whole load of opportunity. So I would probably make some different decisions if I was 20 years younger, but ultimately I don't regret where we are, and we're moving forward. So that's the good thing. That's the positive, I think.
It's similar to a bit of advice I got when I was first starting out, is the best way to succeed in business is to be in business, and you can replace business with whatever you want to get stuck into. The longer you stay out of the market, you're definitely not going to succeed. So
you're absolutely right. And you don't win everything, and not everything you try works. But it's making sure you mitigate your risk if it does go wrong, that it's not the end of the world, and it's making sure that when it does work, you maximize it. So you've got to be a bit sort of careful at the same time, haven't you?
Finally, Oliver, please tell us where we can connect with you, Pegoty Hedge, and how can the listeners support you?
Yeah, well, as I ably demonstrated when I was trying to log on to this call, technology isn't my strong point. But no, we have a website, so we're pegotyhedge.co.uk. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual channels. In terms of where you might have seen us around, so we work very closely with Abel and Cole. We have lots of independent retailers in London and sort of across the country. So the first port of call will be website or Instagram, I would think, and we will certainly communicate with you from there.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for today, Oliver.
No worries.
Bye for now.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
If you were inspired by my conversation with Oliver just now, please subscribe, like, and share with anyone that you feel would be part of Kind Community. I'm Janavelli, and this was the Kind Community Show.